Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini-episode, today I have two very bizarre stories with a couple of cryptids in them that seem to basically be color-coded. In this one article, this mysterious gray-robed man asks if this young boy is ready to go. And the other, a big black mysterious wolf is seen in a state that doesn't have such large animals. We'll read the first article first, folks. Well-dressed man in white room. Abduction, near-death experience? Let's find out. And read the experiencer's story. There was a man. He was very well dressed in a gray suit. I started talking to him, and I remember the woods starting to disappear and turn into a white room. That was a very brief and bizarre excerpt from the story we're going to be reading. Either way, let's read the rest of it now. This happened about 12 years ago when I was a kid. Around 10 years old, I was at my grandparents' house. The grandparents I didn't like, but they were babysitting me until 3 o'clock when my grandmother could pick me up. The way their house was set up, you could walk straight from the front door through the living room, kitchen, and den area. And that's where two black doors were. One led to the carport, and one led literally directly into the woods. But I grew up in rural southwest Iowa and spent a lot of time in the woods, so it wasn't weird. I had a really bad stomachache, severe acid reflux as a kid, so again, pretty normal, but to deal with the pain, they put flat Coca-Cola in a cup since it had been a kind of a cure for stomach pain. I don't know their logic. They weren't exactly geniuses. I remember walking down to the den, to the back door that led into the woods. I stepped outside off the ramp, and there was a man. He was very well dressed in a gray suit. I started talking to him, and I remember the woods starting to disappear and turn into a white room. It was really bizarre, but I was super calm for some reason. He asked me if I was ready to go. I didn't ask where or why. I didn't argue, really. I just said, no, I'm waiting for my grandma. She's picking me up at 3 o'clock, and it's already 1 o'clock, so I don't want to miss her. And he just smiled. He nodded, and I remember falling out of the room and hitting the ground. After that, I just know what my parents have told me. I was sent to the local hospital because I started screaming about my stomach, throwing up, etc. I had to get my stomach pumped, and I was diagnosed with chronic gastritis and acid reflux, and since then I haven't been allowed to drink anything carbonated. This is the only strong memory I have of the man. As of right now, I feel like I've seen him since then, but I'm not sure where or when. I'll keep you updated, L. Now, folks, this is a very strange story. Do you know why? I heard about this one story in which this guy said that he felt that, well, he could have died, and he was given this option that he could die then, or he could basically try to live. This sounds very similar to that, folks, in that this man almost seemed to be asking this boy if he was ready to go, as if he were death itself, and he was asking if he was ready to die. Because I remember that other story, this guy was climbing a mountain when he fell, and he basically was holding on for dear life, and he felt like something was asking him if he wanted to go. And he said no, and he found a way to basically survive. So this feels very similar to that story, folks, at least in that small part. But then again, when this boy says he basically fell out of the dream, he hit the ground, almost as if he were in a spaceship, and they just let him go. So maybe this was some sort of, abduction attempt. I don't know, folks. It just feels, as the article says, was this a near-death experience or an abduction? This feels that these two options are the answer to this particular case. But now, folks, let's move on to the next article, titled Massive Black Cryptid Canine Reported at Abandoned Trenton, New Jersey Hospital. It's a very weird case in which the witness says that she saw this large, larger than normal wolf with a fox-like tail run away from her and her friends while they were driving through a certain area to this Trenton, New Jersey hospital, folks. It sounds incredibly weird, so let's get into it now and read exactly what happened. This animal was bigger than a large dog and much larger than a coyote. Like I said, I was not out this evening with this in mind. I was out to ghost hunt. And that is another brief blurb from the article we'll be reading today, folks. And as you can see, it sets the tone that this witness here was not looking for this, but it happened to her. So let's, as I said, read the rest of her account now. Hi, I was born and raised in North New Jersey. My boyfriend and close friends love to explore mysterious locations throughout the state. One day, I found an exciting area. It is located in Trenton, New Jersey. It is an abandoned child orphanage and also used to operate as an insane asylum. It was late at night, maybe after 10 p.m. We were following the GPS to the location and hoping not to run into police or have to deal with being run off. We wanted to get inside the buildings. It was known when open as the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. As we drove past the site of the actual orphanage, my mind was not on finding cryptids or any creatures, but as we were scoping out the place to see if there was any security, suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, I saw this dark, blacker than black, what I could describe as a canine body shape, but when I saw it, the thing was in the middle of jumping out of the view next to the side of the road. All I was able to fully see was the lower half of this thing, from mid-torso to the tail. As it leapt out of my sight, it scared the crap out of me. Keep in mind, folks, that this was New Jersey, and wolves are known not to live in New Jersey, okay? Now, I can already hear the skeptics already basically saying that this was obviously a dog, perhaps a very large dog with a mane, much like a wolf. Perhaps it was a husky, right? I can already hear them basically saying that, folks, but no. The witness here says that this creature was definitely not a dog. It was too large and black for that, folks. Plus, it had other things off about its body that she definitely thinks was not dog-like at all. And she was equally sure it wasn't a wolf either, folks, because as she said, there were things off about its body. Either way, let's continue with her story now. What struck out in my mind was the tail. This thing had a tail like a fox's tail. It was bushy and large, but New Jersey doesn't have foxes, and certainly not black foxes. This animal was more massive than a large dog and much larger than a coyote. Like I said, I was not out this evening with this in mind. I was out to ghost hunt. I turned to my boyfriend, who was driving, and asked if he had seen what I saw. He did not, which makes sense because this thing was not on my side of the car, and it was dark. I never saw the face or the upper half. It leapt from the side of the road into the bush next to the building. It was on all fours, but New Jersey doesn't have wolves or foxes or anything that fits what I saw. I googled all native animals in New Jersey, and nothing was like what I saw. If I witnessed this thing in another more rural state, I would have an open mind, but New Jersey doesn't have any native animals with that description. So, indeed, folks, what she saw didn't fit anything that she saw before. So, what was it? We don't know. But I most assuredly do have a few ideas, but I'll wait to tell them after I finish off her story, folks. I have never seen a dogman or even a Bigfoot, but I have no doubt they exist. But I sometimes wonder if that's what I saw, some kind of dogman or canine creature. I know I wasn't seeing things. It was blacker than the blackness of the night. It scared the bejesus out of me, too. This was in Trenton, New Jersey, around 10:11 p.m. back in 2019 P. And I have to say, folks, her story is very enlightening. Why? Because she saw something that looked sort of wolf-like but had a fox-like tail. This reminds me of a known animal from South America that pretty much fits exactly what this woman saw, only that it's basically red like a fox. The South American wolf, which, as I said, folks, looks like a wolf-sized version of a fox, but it includes, the fox-like tail. And if this woman saw that, folks, the only reason that I think that can be is perhaps this animal escaped from maybe a zoo or maybe some sort of animal sanctuary or menagerie, folks. Perhaps it was an animal that was traded in the illegal animal trade. It escaped and then basically made its way into the wild. But, folks, remember, she says that the animal she saw was blacker than the blackest black she'd ever saw before. And this is not something you see with South American wolves, because they're red like literal foxes, and they do have the fox-like tail. So, as you can see, folks, it would almost seem like her account is basically a mishmash of a classic black wolf with a South American wolf, but it doesn't make sense, folks, because I'm not even sure that they can breed with each other, and that the offspring would even remotely look like that. But it does make me think, folks, that perhaps what she saw could have been a real living animal. But then again, there's also a possibility that what she saw was a dogman, or just some sort of giant cryptid wolf, which I've also talked about before, folks. They're conflated with dogmen, but really they're just larger wolves that move around on all four legs. Now, any option here could basically be the real one, folks. Because literally, we don't have enough information to basically make a real guess to what the answer could be. But either way, folks, I think what you saw could basically have been, a real dogman encounter. But we can't be for sure, folks. I mean, there's a real possibility that maybe this really was some sort of larger wolf that had been basically released into the area. Perhaps basically, as I said, maybe it escaped from some, illegal animal trade or something. But I can't be for sure either. But everyone, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so make sure to come back again tomorrow to see it. So until then, bye.